Hello again, Conte. I wanted to not make the same mistake I made with the zinogre quest and actually put out a guide for this brute tiger quest in a more of a timely manner. Of course, it's only armor sphere, so it's not super important for a lot of players, but you know, on the off chance that you happen to need them, it can be quite nice, especially now that the fuel quest is gone. Yeah, so I've done a fair amount of testing. I actually skipped today's stream, twitch.tv/consaway, by the way. I skipped today's stream so I could like just test this stuff off stream. It seems to drop shinies upon like its raw attacks or certain raw attacks. I'm not 100% certain, but basically in my testing, from what I can tell, the best way to handle this is literally, unlike Zinogre where there was a little bit of shiny baiting, is basically just to kill it as fast as you possibly can. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm using the Fatalis spread HPG. Obviously just use Safi's Burstcannon and whatever set you prefer. This is the opening that I tend to go for. It's moderately consistent if you can get that first wall bang off. It works with both big and small Tigrex, but yeah, so this is the strat that I'm going for. You'll see, oh sorry, as I was saying, yeah, just run whatever set you like. It's not a big deal. You don't lose much DPS by running the old spread HPG because of how the custom mods worked. Yeah, so I tenderize both arms using the wall bangs. Obviously you can pick up the shinies if you want, and then for my set, and obviously this will vary for you, I figured out that it takes around 7 or 8 shots, 8 or 9 shots to knock down the arm. And so usually what I do is I get like my 7 shots or so, and then I hit the wrong one there, unfortunately. I just basically keep trying to get one shot while I have Rocksteady on. I use the Rocksteady mantle to break the 2 arms because it is a little bit, it's not guaranteed. And so then while this arm is down here, I do the exact same thing. I prep it for the break, and then I get ready. Now you'll see I'm not picking up the shinies. I do run in a second where I do pick up the shinies, but obviously your mileage may vary. I just wanted to show off both. While this is down here, I take as many pot shots into the head as I can, usually around 7 or so, before while still leaving myself enough time to tenderize the head moderately safely. And so then you can see we normally get a clagger hair, but it's not 100% guaranteed. Anyway, once we're done with hair, this is where you'll probably pick up all the shinies, because remember they do have a 2-minute timer, which is another thing that I tested. Yeah, I like to place pitfall traps and use my impact mantle to basically finish off the rest of the fight. Not particularly difficult to do. You can obviously bring the combines for more pitfall traps. I do that as well, but you can bring an additional pitfall trap to use if you need to. Not a huge deal, and that can sort of make it even easier to guarantee you the win. But yeah, not really a huge amount to talk about here. I am going to show you a version of this run where I do pick up the shinies halfway, because it does change things a little bit. And you can see he's dicking around wasting time here. This is basically a 2.5-minute run. Another thing is, don't be afraid to capture the monster. Capturing doesn't seem like it makes much of a difference. However, you have to understand, this 40 seconds at the end, not only does it save you the sort of small amount, and oh, and by the way, when I do this method, I usually spam pick up shinies right at the end. I get like 3 or 4 kings by doing this, and I probably missed a couple shinies. Some of them probably hit the despawn timer, but I got the majority of them. Yeah, so by capturing the monster, not only are you cutting down on the amount of damage you have to do, obviously, but you're also skipping the 40 seconds of wait time at the end of the quest by knocking it down to 20, which when you're doing a quest in as short a time as we're doing now, 2.5 minutes roughly for this one, for example, when you're doing a quest this quickly, those 40 seconds are a pretty huge proportion. Now, just before I show off for the set that I've been using in this video, which is just for Fatalis, by the way. But anyway, yeah, before I show off the set, I thought I'd show off another run where I actually pick up the shinies just to show you that you can take a break halfway through to make sure you get every single shiny. So you can compare the two methods. Personally, I find that it doesn't make much of a difference. I don't lose that many shinies. However, you know, your mileage may vary. And so I'll leave it up to you to make the decision, of course. Same starter as I always do. It's kind of nice because this one shows off a big Tigrex too, whereas the previous one was a small Tigrex. You get that first wall bang off, and then it's fairly consistent to just claw back onto its arm, shift up to the head, and then get a flinch swipe. There is like 1 or 2 moves you can do that can move it around, in which case you can just jump off and try and get the second wall flinch. This is how I get onto the other wing, by the way. I grab onto the tail, and then it'll always take me to the opposite wing if you just followed my method exactly. Of course, feel free to script this however you like. You don't need to use spread HPG either. This is almost certainly easy to do better, even without like trap spam with other weapons that are like it's not hard to script these kinds of quests. I've done a video on Stunlock and Kushala with Greatsword and HPG where I sort of talk about how I go about figuring out the stunlocks for these quests. But anyway, there you can see we got the 7 or 8 shots on the left arm. Now we're going for the right arm. I would definitely recommend breaking these 2 arms, by the way, because they're the ones those part breaks seem to drop like a guaranteed fairly rare shiny. So do try to not miss that break. I think I had a couple of like far range shots where I was out of range and did less damage. That's why it took so many. But yeah, exactly the same procedure as before. I like to get a few shots into its head. I think I overcommit here a little bit, but it's not a huge deal. I still have Rocksteady, obviously. And once you've done that, you just pick up all the shinies. Now, by the time I get here, usually my Rocksteady has run out. And so picking up the shinies can be a little bit of a pain. You will have to do some iframing, which is why I kind of like having evasion window on the set. But it's also not that big a deal, and it probably is worth it for the slightly more shinies that you'll get. Personally speaking, if I was grinding this quest, I probably would just focus on trying to get a consistent fast kill myself. But again, as I said, your mileage may vary, and I'm showing off both just so you can have the choice. While I have you here, I'll just talk about why this quest isn't super worth doing, which seems like a stupid thing to do, but well, you know, I don't want you to waste your time on stuff you don't need to do. It's almost certainly more efficient to just farm the guiding lands for fuel, Steamworks fuel. And even though the zinogre quest is gone, we can obviously still do the mining method. I have a video of that on the channel, by the way. You can do the mining method for Steamworks fuel, and you can use that fuel to get all of these armor spheres in much higher abundance. Obviously, this quest is going to give you the true armor spheres, which are less frequent. Well, not less frequent. They weren't available prior to this quest. You weren't able to get them. I believe they're 2,000 points, so they're roughly 2.5 king spheres each. But you get so many king spheres, especially with 10 times mode on. In terms of speed, that it's probably almost when you consider all the other rewards too, like the Celestial Prince and everything else. Steamworks is almost certainly better, but you know, it can be fun to have this additional method, and I thought I would show it off for anybody who maybe doesn't have a gathering set or isn't into farming for fuel or for whatever reason. You know, it's you know, worst case scenario, it might be interesting to people to see how I go about scripting this quest. But yeah, you can see we actually had it in cap range already, which is kind of cool. It means I wasted a little bit of time here. This could definitely have been a faster run. But yeah, if you take that break like I did in the middle of the quest to grab all the shinies at that point, then by the time you've killed the Tigrex, that 2-minute timer for these new shinies would definitely not have passed. And so it can guarantee you some extra ones. Yeah, stopping after you break the two, making sure you get those part break shinies is probably the most important thing, however. And yeah, that's all there really is to it. A fairly consistent, easy way to farm armor spheres quite quickly, and I've put it out in actually a timely manner, thank the Lord. Like, I know there's another quest guide that I put out was basically a day before the quest was expiring, so yeah, I'm glad I could get this out in a little bit more speed. And you can see 3.5 minutes, not much slower than the previous run. Yeah, so do let me know if you have any questions, but let's talk about the set. So here is the set. I'm using the Vor Buster. It is the best slot spread HPG. Because you have to run so much recoil on it, however, you actually don't benefit much over Safi. It's only a few % difference, so feel free to run Safi. It makes the set much more easy to gem in if you don't have good decos as well. But otherwise, you've seen the augments and stuff here. These are the skills we're running. In terms of essential skills, there is obviously probably the most important skill for this, weirdly enough, is Slinger Capacity for the opener that I do. But if you vary the opener or find something you prefer, then that wouldn't be as important. Aside from that, it's just DPS skills. Vary these based on what gems you have access to or what sets you have access to. It's not a huge deal if you can't make Fatalis. Just use the previously existing Safi Burstcannon spread HPG meta set. You aren't losing much DPS at all over this. I do like having evasion window if you're going to be stopping to grab these shinies, but otherwise that's not even important either, because the quest is basically 100% scripted, aside from like maybe 1 or 2 little rolls every now and then. But yeah, so Weakness Exploit and Agitator 7 takes us up to 100 affinity, just over. We're actually over-critting on this set a tiny bit. And the rest is just standard DPS stuff and standard defensive stuff. Oh, please note, this set currently has the Evasion Mantle equipped on it because I was messing with testing some other stuff. But I would definitely recommend taking Rocksteady because it makes the openers so much more consistent. Yeah, sorry, I changed that set a second ago, but you should be running Rocksteady with attack jewels in the Rocksteady Mantle if you have access to them. And on Impact Mantle, obviously, I have KO jewels for fairly obvious reasons. And I think that basically covers everything, so do let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. But otherwise, I hope you have a good time farming the quest if you do decide to go for it. Have a lovely day. Take it easy. Bye-bye.